Okay, we're getting ready to go live. Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks again for joining. Today is our Sunday service, and then of course it's our March Shotsuki monthly memorial service as well. And so again, we're so thankful that you can join us here on Zoom, and then also of course on our YouTube page from Stockton. So thank you so much for joining us. And as always, we welcome all of our new friends who are joining us too. We invite you to introduce yourselves at the end of the service. So just wanted to let you know in advance, just in case you would like to do that. I hate to kind of spring it on people when we're at the end. So please, if you would like to introduce yourself at the end. So, as normal, we will start with the kancho, or the tolling of the bell. And this tolling of the bell really encourages us to quiet our minds and quiet our bodies so that we can hear and receive the Dharma during today's service. And of course, like, it makes us kind of in tune with what's going on. Again, I always remember whenever we ring the kancho at the temple, when everybody's here, there's a quiet that kind of comes over the temple, the whole temple. And I think that really is an indication that we are starting service, and that we are getting ready to be mindful, be with our friends, and being with our Sangha family, to be able to hear and receive the Dharma. So please sit with me as we do the kancho, or the tolling of the bell.
Trying to see how to get this.
Okay, thank you so much for sitting with me during the concho. And as I usually do, I always forget to introduce myself. So my name is Reverend Candace Shibata, the resident minister here at the Buddhist Church of Stockton, and also the supervising minister of the Buddhist Church of Lodi and the Walnut Grove Buddhist Church. And I, of course, welcome all of you to today's service, including some of our friends from our other temples in the area as well. And that really is the beauty of Zoom, because we our friends from all over the place join us, whatever your comfort level is. If you want to be able to chant in your pajamas, if you want to sit in your home office, sit in front of your butsudan, of course, we accept you just as you are, especially in that Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. That's kind of the theme of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. You're perfect just as you are. And so I think that might be one of the silver linings part of the pandemic, that you can be just as you are in your own homes, but still have this opportunity to be with us today. So without further ado, I would like to ask Darlene Bagshaw to assist us with the opening meditation as she beautifully prepares our slideshow for our opening meditation. So take it away, Darlene. Oh, Darlene, there's no sound. I don't know if you have music to this one.
Let's try that again. Please join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda. Thank you, Darlene. I always enjoy all of your pictures and of course the beautiful music that you put together. So thank you so much. I hope everybody enjoyed that as well. We'll continue the service with the sutra chanting, and today we'll be chanting Sambutsuge. And so I'll screen share so that everybody can see the chanting. Okay, so please join me at home in the chanting of Sambutsuge. Ogengi Iji Mugok Nyozemyo Muyo Dosha Ichigatsumani Shuko Enyo Kaishitsu Onpei Yunyaku Jumok Nyodai Yogen Chosei Murin Shogaku Daiyon Kuru Jipo Kaimon Shojin Sanmai Chie Itoku Muryo Shushokeu Jintai Zennen Shobutsu Hokai Kujinjin no Kugo Gaitai Mumyo Yokunu Seson Yomu Nino Shishi Jintoku Muryo Kukun Kodai
観が作物最小法可動生じ二不下脱不正上位解任精進妙税三昧知恵以上公正特物不行志願一切空空一切大安決し有物百千億万無量大小修行五者供養一切死と小物不尿愚道検証不逆異尿五者小物世界不不影無種節道光明師匠遠視諸国妙税精進異人な量量が差物国土大公衆奇妙道場調節国領内容任務闘争ガトワイミンゴダツイサイジポ大小新熱症状糸が国気濁和の鉱物神妙税が師匠発願の意力少所欲自法生存知恵無下浄土子孫知が信用けどしし食毒中家業精進忍術不見ナマナブナマナブナマナブナマナブナマナブナマナブカニシクドク平等世 Namanda Vatsinamanda 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 Vatsinamanda. Thank you so much for chanting along with me at home. We'll continue on with the golden chain number 2. Please join me in Gasho. Golden chain 2. I am a link in the Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world.
I don't want to be on
I
the
must keep the link bright and strong.
Okay, so video
I
me.
will try to be
I show
kind
you a
and
picture.
gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that on what I do now depends not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also that of others. May every link in the Buddha's golden chain of love become bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandavats, namandavats, namandavats. Okay. At this time, I'd like to share my Dharma message. Okay, so thank you everybody for attending. And I just wanted to start my Dharma message by a short opening hymn. If you could please join me in Gasho. When the waters of the mind entrusting to other power enter the ocean waters of Amida's vow of wisdom, then in accord with the nature of the true and real fulfilled land, blind passions and enlightenment come to be of one taste. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandavats, namandavats, namandavats. Okay, so I was preparing, and as I was counting the number of years and months that I've been a minister, it's exactly 5.5 years. So I started in September of 2015 at the Berkeley Buddhist Temple. And the Berkeley Buddhist Temple is a temple within the Bay District. So all of the Bay Area temples are within this one particular district. And where there's so many different districts within the Buddhist Churches of America. And so I was in Bay, and now I'm in Northern California District. So as the member of the Bay District Ministers Association, I had an opportunity to lend a hand in and participate in the various groups of that district. And so one of these particular groups included the Junior Young Buddhist Association, which is also known as YBA, because we love these acronyms here in our organization. So the Junior Young Buddhist Association. And so this includes all of the children of the youth group. So during the 4th of July weekend in 2017, members of the Bay District Junior YBA, the parents, and most of the ministers, I believe, we headed to San Luis Obispo. And it's a little bit of a drive even from the Bay Area. And so this was a weekend retreat that we went on. And this occurred every other year. So of course, before the pandemic, the students would get together every other year. And this specific retreat in 2017 was the first for myself, and of course, some of the other children as well. So that year's theme was Finding Dharma. And it was inspired by the movie Finding Dory. So I don't know if all of you follow Finding Nemo and Finding Dory, but this one was in particular about Finding Dory. And so with typical conferences, if you've been to some growing up or even as adults, there were different services, icebreakers and workshops pertaining to the theme. And what really made this particular conference or retreat really special was the silent breakfast that we had with the students. They did a night walk around the temple. And if you've been to San Luis Obispo, it's very vast. And of course, the ocean is there too. And so the beautiful temple is on these grounds that they don't really have a lot of lights in the parking lot. And so the students, they were walking with just these little lanterns. And so they were a little bit more brave than I was. I waited for them on the porch of the temple grounds, but it was really amazing how they just went out and started walking. And they also had a service at the beach. And I was really impressed by the organization of this weekend, because it's all done by primarily the students. And of course, the parents and advisors help them a little bit, but really, the students really put it together. And so one of the events of that weekend was this beach service that we had. And Reverend Zuke Taniguchi, he was the minister there for a really long time in Alameda. And he happened to be the keynote speaker of that weekend. And he always took great joy in conducting this service at the beach, which he had done years before. And he took initiative to lead the service when we were at the beach. So he asked the participants, all the students, to build like a tower or a sandcastle. And it was really cute because they all jumped in right away to build this really big tower of sand by the water, and everybody eagerly helped. So he wrote the characters, Namo Amida Butsu. And so for maybe some of our Dharma friends who are new to this service, Namo Amida Butsu, something that you'll hear quite often in our services. And it's the name of the Buddha. And so we're saying we're entrusting ourselves to the Buddha when we say Namo Amida Butsu. And so he wrote in the characters, Namo Amida Butsu in the sand, so that, of course, we could have a proper service. And the service also included chanting. And one of the other students gave a reflection as well about the weekend and their experience. And of course, Reverend Taniguchi gave a short Dharma message too. And so we began the service by chanting Jusege, and Jusege will chant in the Shotsuki service together. And to my surprise, these young students of the Young Buddhist Association, they began chanting very, very loudly at the beach, and with more encouragement from Reverend Taniguchi. And if you know Reverend Taniguchi, he's so animated, and he said, louder, louder. And so even the children began chanting really, really loudly, despite the fact that this beach was full. It was full with different families and kids, and they just started really chanting really loudly. And before the service started, I actually thought to myself, I wonder how many of these kids are going to be chanting out loud, or if they're going to feel shy or bashful. And I think it was really myself who was quite hesitant to chant, because it seemed like everybody was watching us. And so the children, of course, really inspired me so very deeply because of their sincere hearts and their sincere chanting. And it really shed light upon my own afflictions of being human, and worrying about what people were going to think of me, worrying about what are those people doing chanting around this little sandcastle that they built. And I think I became embarrassed because of my own ego. So I began to chant louder, and I just was so impressed and so moved by the students. So of course, me being me, I had these tears welling up in my eyes, just because of my deep, sincere appreciation for the students and Reverend Taniguchi, and of course, being able to encounter the teachings in that very profound way that day. So the ocean waves in the background, because it really was a beautiful day. It was a little windy, a little bit cold, but the waves were coming in, and they really just seemed to drown everybody out, including the chanting, really helped to drown everybody out. So if you can imagine just hearing waves in the background and hearing the chanting, and it really felt like it was just us on that beach that day. So with each crashing wave that came in, I felt as if Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion was kind of just coming over us and really shedding light and washing away even my own blind passions of my own ego, of being embarrassed and self-conscious. And it kind of took it all away into the ocean. So this encounter really made me think about our founder of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, Shinran Shonin, and the writing that I opened with. In Shinran Shonin, he wrote, "When the waters of the mind, entrusting to other power, enter the ocean waters of Amida's vow of wisdom, then in accord with the nature of true and real fulfilled land, blind passions and enlightenment come to be of one taste." So this hymn, kind of in summary, really reminds me of Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion. And it's so vast, like the ocean. It's kind of inconceivable. If you ever tried to look out into the ocean, it just keeps on going and going and going. And it's so deep, right? It's so vast and so deep. And I think this is a good reminder of Amida's wisdom and compassion for all of us. And with the teachings as our guide, we are encouraged to truly reflect upon ourselves, looking at our reflections like we do looking at a reflection on water. And this reflection really allows us to acknowledge that, yes, we do have our own blind passions of greed and anger and ignorance, all due to my own ego, and that's okay. This is an acknowledgement that we have these certain human conditions. However, when we look at our own blind passions, all of these different things that are a part of our ego, we can, number one, acknowledge them, but it can equal more awareness of them as well. And I think that's when we really encounter the Nembutsu teachings. Being able to become aware of these human conditions, but also allow us to really be mindful of them as well. And then I think from there, it allows us to have very mindful and compassionate action. So it's kind of like this cause and effect. We have these afflictions as human beings, we're aware of them, and we can be mindful of them. So I think that was one of the biggest, most impactful moments of that retreat. Of course, the whole thing was fun, but I think really the service and the kids, they were my great Dharma teachers that day. And for some of us here in Stockton, I know even as I was growing up too, I was very shy about chanting. But as I encourage everybody to chant every week, this is our way to encounter the teachings and show appreciation. And you're at home, so there's nothing to be bashful about. You can definitely chant very loudly, and as a way to give thanks for the Nembutsu teachings in your life as well, and to really reflect on them. So I hope you enjoyed just hearing about the beach and maybe being inspired as well in regards to your own chanting. So we'll continue this service with the Jodo Shinshu Creed. Let me go ahead and share my screen with all of you. Okay, so this is the Jodo Shinshu Creed, and it's a great reminder of our life as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists. So please join me in Gassho. Jodo Shinshu Creed 2. I affirm my faith in Amida's infinite wisdom and compassion. Reciting the sacred name, I shall live with strength and joy. I shall look to Amida's guiding light. As I reflect upon my imperfect self, I live with gratitude for the perfect compassion which surrounds me at all times. I shall follow Amida's teachings. I shall understand the right path and resolve to spread the true teachings. I rejoice in Amida's wisdom and compassion. I shall respect and help my fellow beings and work for the good of my community. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandouts, namandouts, namandouts. Okay, so announcements. We have quite a few, especially I wanted to start with March birthdays. So thank you, Charlie and Darlene, for reminding me it's March birthdays. And so this is just the list that we do have, but anybody else who's celebrating a birthday, please don't be shy to either put your name in the chat or you can get our attention. So happy birthday to Elise Fuji, George Fuji, Chloe Martin, Linda Liang, Kathy Fujimori, Denise Levitt, Mike Shibata, Derek Uemura, and Brian Yanokita. Happy birthday, our dear friends. Is there anybody else who has a birthday? Don't be shy if you'd like to put your name in the chat, or you could let us know if you want to unmute yourselves. Okay, so in regards to other announcements, on March 14th, we will have a Dharma School Teachers meeting after distance learning. On March 21st, please join us for Spring Ohigan with Reverend Etsuko Mikame from the Buddhist Church of San Jose Betsuin as our guest speaker. Keep saving your box tops so that you can help our local schools when we reopen. And remember, you can always donate your osaisen. You could either mail it in or you can do a donation online. And thank you so much for those of you that continue to support the church through your kind donations. Let's see. Do we have any new Dharma friends joining us today? If you would like to unmute yourselves, you can do that. Or if you'd like to say hello in the chat, if you feel a little bit shy, please do so.
Sensei, there is a chat on scholarship packets. I don't know if you want to read that. And we've got a R. Kenmotsu saying hello.
Oh, hello. Hello, new friend. Okay. Scholarship packets will be emailed upon request. And so please, you can email the temple office or you can email Candy Hayashi for the packet if you would like to receive a packet. And this is for high school and college or technical school as well. Yes, I'm seeing a head shake. Yes, thank you, Ruby. Okay, so hello to our new friend and thank you so much for joining us. Okay, are there any other announcements before I conclude with thank yous? So I'd like to, of course, thank all of you for joining us today, and of course to our new Dharma friend joining us. Oh, one more. We do have a Stockton Buddhist Women's Association meeting today at 11:30. Thank you to my duo, Charlie and Darlene Bagshaw for your help with the AV, and of course, Tad Shibata for assisting me with the help of the altar setup as well. Okay, so thanks so much for joining us today. For those of you that would like to stay for the Shotsuki monthly memorial service for the month of March, please continue to stay on. For those of you that have to leave, we understand, and you can go ahead and leave the meeting at your convenience, okay? And so we'll resume momentarily with the Shotsuki monthly memorial service. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate it. Please take good care.
Buddy, that passed
Bye.
away. March, April, huh?
So this one is March. This one will be for March. Oh, you know what? I did forget. For those of you that have maybe young children, young babies, any newborns, which I did receive one already, or even older children who haven't been able to participate in our Hatsumairi, that will be Sunday, May 16th. And so there was a registration form in the Karma. So please go ahead and fill that out. Typically it is for children from birth to age 1, but you know, we always have newcomers of any age for children, and we welcome your older children to participate if they didn't have a chance to participate before. So please let me know if you have any questions about Hatsumairi. Okay. So thanks everybody. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. to our monthly memorial service. Just switch gears here with all of my papers. Okay, so for those of you who are new to the call, we are live on our our YouTube channel, and also recording. So please be aware. Oh, I'll go ahead and record this. Okay. And so this will be on our YouTube as well. So please go ahead and turn off your cameras if you don't wish to be part of the recording. Okay, so again, my name is Reverend Candace Shibata, here from the Buddhist Church of Stockton, and I welcome you as we begin our Shotsuki monthly memorial service for the month of March. And like always, we will read the names of our past loved ones and friends who have passed away in March, and this will include the names of the Buddhist Church of Stockton and the Walnut Grove Buddhist Church as well. And for those friends that are from the Lodi Buddhist Church of Lodi, we will be putting up a separate service dedicated to those members who have passed away in the month of March. And so that's usually put on the YouTube page. Okay, so thank you again for joining us today. So we will begin with our opening meditation in Nembutsu, completed and put on by Darlene Bagshaw. Oh, no music, Darlene.
Oh, gosh darn it. I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, let's try it again.
Still
Okay.
nothing. Did you share your sound when you opened up the
Yeah,
share
you
screen?
know what? Let me disconnect these earphones. Maybe it's the earphones. Okay, because I put earphones on. So let me try that again. Sorry.
Please join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandouts. 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 Thank you, Darlene. So we will continue the service with the chanting of Sambujo. And Sambujo is called Three Respectful Callings. And in this particular hymn, we call upon Amida Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, and the Buddhas of the 10 directions to be present today. And we respond with the word Sange Daku as a way to welcome them. And this will be followed by the Hyobyakumon, which is called the dedication or the aspiration of this service, stating that, why we're here and gathering today. And this will be followed by the Shotsuki names. Okay, so please join me in the chanting of the Sange Daku part when we're chanting Sambujo. Let us pause for a moment and turn our hearts in aspiration to the Buddha of infinite light and life. On this joy memorial service, we have all gathered here in memory of the following people who have passed away. Mr. Toraji Abe, Mr. Robert Yoshio Arakawa, Mr. Frank Takumi Arata, Mrs. Mie Baba, Mrs. Ruth Chu, Mr. John Fuji, Mr. Johnny Iwao Fuji, Mrs. Kei Fuji, Mrs. Mitsue Fukuda, Mrs. Fusao Fukui, Mr. Yoshio John Fukumoto, Mrs. Gwendolyn Gutierrez, Mr. Wayne Masato Hatanaka, Mrs. Tsuye Hayame, excuse me. Mr. John Tomotsu Hayashi. Mr. Harry Shigeaki Hayashino. Mrs. Saki Hirota. Mrs. Kate Matsuko Hisaka. Mrs. Margie Toshie Hisaka. Miss Gladys Junko Horita. Mr. Henry Haruo Horita. Mr. Toshiyuki Tosh Ishihara. Mr. Shintaro Ito. Mr. Fred Aihiro Kajioka. Mrs. Mitsuo Kajioka. Mrs. Mary Tomika Kamibayashi. Mr. Shinichi Kaneishi. Mrs. Elaine Toshie Kanemoto. Mrs. Fujie Kano. Mrs. Sakiko Kasa. Mrs. Sakayo Makishima. Mr. Jess Yoshiyuki Matsumoto. Mrs. Ruby Kimiko Matsumura. Mrs. Shizue Mizuno. Miss Shimo Mori. Mrs. Kimie Morinaka. Mr. Henry Satoshi Morita. Mr. Satoru John Murakami. Mrs. May Tokie Murano. Mr. Tsuruki George Murano. Mrs. Grace Miyako Nagata. Mr. Masayoshi Nakashima. Mrs. Kinu Natsuhara. Mr. Tom Natsuhara. Mr. Sakiichi Nishizawa. Mrs. Hatsuko Nojima. Mrs. Mio Nonaka. Mr. Kiyoshi Oka. Mrs. Chiyomi Okazaki. Mr. Toby Okumyo. Mrs. Masae Onizuka. Mrs. Dorothy Masako Oseto. Mr. Keizo Saga. Mrs. Ui Sagara. Mrs. Shizuno Saiki. Mr. Yukio Sasaki. Mr. Minoru Roy Satake. Mr. Harunaga Shiba. Mrs. Kamu Shimosaki. Mrs. Hisayo Shinmoto. Mrs. Chieko Takahashi. Mr. Fred Tanaka. Mrs. Kiyomi Tanaka. Mrs. Shizuko Tanaka. Mrs. Harumi Rose Tsunekawa. Mr. Akira Archie Ueda. Mr. Bill Mamoru Ueda. Mrs. Yukie Ueda. Mrs. Shigeko Umeda. Mr. Yonetaro Umino. Mr. Teruo Edward Uesuki. Mr. Ted Kazuaki Wakabayashi. Mrs. Shizuno Wakita. Mr. Sakujiro Watanabe. Mr. Kazuo Yada. Mrs. Nancy Kikuyo Yada. Mrs. Sekino Yamada. Mr. John Kiyoshi K. Yamaguchi. Mr. Shigeru Yamamoto. Mr. Akira Yamamura. Mrs. Takino Yano. Mrs. Ume Yonemura. Mr. Mikuzo Yoshikawa. Mrs. Shizuko Yoshimura. Mr. Terry Naomichi Yotsuya. And the members from the Walnut Grove Buddhist Church: Shinkichi Ito, Toyoji Goto, Hikotaro Oda, Frank Uda, Sadako Uda, Teruo Uda, Haru Uda, Hatsutaru Uda, Kubota Kanichi, Tsurukichi Nagaoshi, Jiro Nagaoshi, Yuichi Ogawa, Isao Hamada, Mary Goto, Yoshio Norikane, Joe Norikane, Yoshihiro Koga, Sugi Koga, Kimiko Yoshimi, Shigeru Takaki, George Hiromoto. Those who have departed and those who still remain, meeting again in spirit upon this memorial service. On this occasion, let us seek spiritual values to give meaning to a grateful and fuller life. May the boundless and supreme light of wisdom shine within our hearts and minds and guide us to follow the true Buddhist way of life in deepest gratitude. Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandots, namandots, namandots. Okay, so we'll continue on with the chanting of Jusege. And go ahead and share my screen for you. And Jusege is 3 sacred vows. And for those of you at home who are participating in this Shotsuki monthly memorial service, I welcome you to offer incense at your home obutsudan or home altar if you do have one. Okay, so please join me in the chanting of Jusege. Josegan Hishima Jodo Shigan Fumanzok Seifu Joshogak Garomuryokon Gui Dai Seishu Fusai Shopping Seifu Joshogak Gashi Jabutsudo Nyosho Jojipo Kukyomi Shomon Seifu Joshogak Ryokujin Shonen Choei Shubongyon Shiguma Jodom Ishoten Nishim Jiniki and Daikon Ushomu Saido Shoujo Sankumyo Kosai Shuyakunan Kaihi Chiegen Beshi Komon Eisoku Showakudo Tsudatsu Zen Shumon Koso Jomanzok Iodo Jipo Nichigatsu Shujuki Tenkon Pugem Ishukai Hozo Kosei Kudoku Jodai Shuchu Seppo Shishiku Kuyo Isai Kusoku Shutoku Hon Kane Shitsu Joman Tokui Sangayo Nyobutsu Mugechi Sudatsumi Sho Ganga Kueri Toshi Saisho Son Shiganya Koka Daisen no Kando Koku Shoten Toru Chimyoken Namandaru 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 Kanishiku Doku Pyodo Seisai Don Modai Shin Audio Namanda 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 Namanda. Okay, so thank you for chanting along with me for the Sutra Chanting of Jews. We'll continue on with the recitation of the three treasures. Please join me in Gasho. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves your supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in your life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Okay, at this time, I'd like to share just a few thoughts in my Dharma message today. Okay, so to begin, will you please join me in Gasho? How joyous I am, my heart and mind being rooted in the Buddha ground of the universal vow, and my thoughts and feelings flowing within the inconceivable Dharma ocean. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much again for staying tuned in to our Shotsuki monthly memorial service for March. And if you were with us for the previous service, I wanted to continue with this kind of talk about ocean and water for this service as well. And I do have a tendency to really be drawn to Shinran Shoning's writing, our founder's writings regarding ocean. And personally, I think for me, the sound of ocean and water, it's really, really calming for me. So even as I was preparing today's message, I was listening to kind of piano music with relaxing sounds of water in the background. Um, and it's really different compared to like when I was a younger student. I can listen to anything, especially with words, and I'd be singing along. But maybe as an adult, I'm realizing that that method really isn't working for my concentration. So now I really like to listen to really peaceful kind of music, maybe classical, to kind of hone in on what I need to really do. So I was wondering, how many of you have been feeling a little bit stressed because of maybe work or the current pandemic, or just you have a lot on your plate? I don't really see a lot of people, but maybe if you know, okay, so we have some people who still have their video on. So why don't we take a moment? I wanted to really share this moment with you because I too get overwhelmed and stressed. So let's just take a moment to sit together. Um, and we could really just enjoy maybe some of the sights and sounds that I was enjoying last night. So let's take a moment, and I welcome you to be really mindful in this moment. You can look at the image, or you can close your eyes, because obviously right now I can't see what you're doing. So whatever makes you feel comfortable, let's just take a mindful moment to sit together. I hope you enjoyed that. I didn't want to completely play it for a really, really long time because I might lose some of you in deep meditation, I think. So you can definitely come back to that, and it's amazing what you can find on the internet in regards to just looking up beach waves and music. So I hope that was a calming moment for you. And I thank you for taking that moment of meditation with me this morning. And a scene like this that I just showed you, it really makes me want to be on an island vacation somewhere. And maybe some of you are feeling that way too. It's probably been a while since you've been on vacation because of the pandemic. And so I was just kind of thinking about places like the beach, maybe an island vacation somewhere. Places like this really allow me to be able to be in that present moment where I am. You're not faced with the daily tasks of the day. You might be taking time off of work. You can be able to really take a moment to feel that ocean breeze, feel the warmth of the sun on your face and on your body, and maybe just even sit and watch the waves for hours and hours on the beach. And really, it is rather easy to be able to be mindful in that moment when you're away from all of the hustle and bustle of everyday life. However, I must admit that I probably need to be a little bit more mindful of my surroundings and kind of concentrate on taking deep breaths on a day-to-day level when I feel overwhelmed, and sometimes when I feel like I can't catch my breath from one task to the next. So this is my everyday life of, having responsibilities, and I do really need to be a little bit more mindful of the present moment and actually be very appreciative of that moment as well. So as I became an adult, I found the ocean and the waves very, very calming. But as a child, I was actually really scared of the water. And I never really was a great swimmer. And I don't think that I am today. I could probably survive and swim. I think Tiffany, my sister, was always a better swimmer than I was. And I never learned how to dive into a swimming pool, but Tiffany can. So I just wasn't a very strong swimmer. And so I vaguely remember being at the ocean on the beach of Santa Cruz when I was little. And I remember I was in the ocean, and I obviously was smaller because I had a little inner tube right here at my armpits here. And I don't know what I did, but I lifted up my arms and whoop, I just fell completely through that little inner tube. However, everything's okay. I'm still here now. And I think, luckily, I think I was caught by my parents or somebody, and I was brought to the surface really, really quickly. So in addition to that event, there was another event that made me realize that I'm not a great swimmer. So we were at our neighborhood pool when I think I was in elementary school. And even then too, I couldn't swim very well. And it was a really crowded day that day, and I was pushed from the side because I think I was just kind of like holding on to the railing, or at least the sides of the pool, and I was pushed away. And I realized that I couldn't reach the bottom floor of the pool. And so here I was, flailing my arms, hoping somebody could see me as I was bobbing up and down underneath the water. And I was hoping somebody would notice me, especially that lifeguard that was like right there. However, that didn't happen. And it just felt like a really long time that I was struggling. However, somebody did pluck me up from the water, push me to the side again, and I was able to catch my breath. And even as I was preparing my message, like it kind of came flooding back to me. I felt quite nervous as I was kind of recalling this memory. However, despite all of these kind of traumatic events of me in water, I still think that the ocean is very, very beautiful, very calming force of nature, but it should never be underestimated. So my experiences started to make me think about Dr. Kenneth Tanaka's book, Ocean. And so many of you might have this particular book. This is a great introduction to Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. And it allows the reader to kind of go through this journey about learning about Jodo Shinshu Buddhism in a question and answer kind of format. So I think it's a fairly easy read, very user-friendly, I should say. But part of this introduction of this book really reminded me of my incident, and then is actually the inspiration behind the name of the book that Dr. Tanaka chose for this one. And Dr. Tanaka opens this book with recalling a parable about ocean that he heard from another minister in another Dharma talk. And so I just wanted to share a little part of that with you today, if you haven't already heard it. So just imagine, as I'm reading these images in your mind, at night, a ship leaves the port of a tropical island. After many hours on the high seas, a sailor falls overboard. No one on the ship notices that the man is missing, and the ship sails on its way. The water is chilly, and the waves are choppy. It is hauntingly dark. The sailor paddles frantically to keep afloat. He then starts to swim toward an island he saw before he fell overboard. He has lost all sense of direction, so he is not sure that he is headed in the right way. Though he's a good swimmer, unlike me, his arms and legs soon grow weary. His lungs are tired and he gasps for air. The sailor feels lost and totally alone in the middle of the ocean. This could be the end for him. As despair overcomes him, his energy drains from him like sand from an hourglass. He begins to choke on the water, slapping his face, and he can feel his body being dragged under. At this instant, he hears a voice from the depths of the ocean. Let go! Let go of your striving. You're fine just as you are. Namo Amida Butsu. The sailor hears the voice and stops his useless striving to swim by his own power. Instead, he turns over on his back with limbs outstretched, as if he were in a backyard hammock on a lazy summer afternoon. He is overjoyed to find that the ocean holds him afloat without any effort on his part. Now, the water feels warm and the waves are calm. The ocean that seemed ready to drag him under now caresses him. He is grateful and happy to know that he is all right. He realizes that he was fine all along. He just didn't know it. The ocean has not changed at all. By changing his thinking, the sailor's relationship with the ocean has changed. The sea changed from being a dangerous and frightening enemy to a friend who embraced and supported him. The sailor knows that he cannot stay afloat forever in the middle of the ocean. If he had no worldly obligations, maybe he could just stay and rest in this joyful calm. But the image of his wife and small children waiting anxiously at home inspires him to try to reach the shore. He begins to swim as before, but with one important difference. He now trusts the ocean as if he could a caring and protecting loved one. He knows that whenever he becomes tired, he can let go, and the ocean will support him. More importantly, he now knows that while he swims, it is the power of the ocean, not his own power, that keeps him afloat. Yes, he moves his limbs to swim, but he has learned he can stay afloat by not striving. So when we think about this sailor, we kind of think about the images in our head, and I think because they are very vivid, and I was able to kind of imagine this in my head as well when I was reading the book. And Dr. Tanaka stated that this story really captures this heart of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, as the sailor represents each and every one of us and all of the human conditions that we have, which include our human condition of suffering. And of course, really, our natural response is to probably swim out of these very turbulent waters or these very difficult times in our life, to just maybe run away from them. However, we can't really escape our own suffering just from our own efforts. So we have to trust the ocean, as Dr. Tanaka said. And this means really entrusting Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion that we'll be okay. And just as the ocean told the sailor, you'll be okay. Namo Amida Butsu. Dr. Tanaka stated that this trusting the ocean, trusting of Amida Buddha, can really create this really dramatic difference or this dramatic change in our lives. And like the sailor, he was able to experience some relief from all of this striving, all of this suffering. And in turn, I think when we are able to do that, we can experience joy and appreciation and even more awareness in our lives. So when we have this kind of turning of heart, or maybe this transformation, again, we're able to create more awareness for ourselves, but I think that can have a ripple effect, all of these terms in regards to water. It could have a ripple effect around people around us as well. And they too may be able to encounter the teachings as we have. So when I think about this Shotsuki Hoyo month, and so all of the individuals who are here in memory of their loved one, I think about our suffering that we felt. And this is in particular to loss and the loss of our loved ones. And all of us have experienced some type of loss or change in our lives. And for those of you who are joining us, thinking about your loved one, you might be reminded of this suffering and the grief that you experience from parting from your dear family member or dear friend. So grief, it's also likened to an ocean as well. And I too have been hit by waves of grief because of my losses, especially from my mom's passing. And sometimes I think I can't anticipate them, like maybe her death anniversary or even her birthday, and especially Mother's Day. But sometimes these waves of grief kind of just pop up out of nowhere. And I think sometimes these are the ones that kind of push me back and catch me off guard, I think, as well. And so there's this really beautiful poem that I believe that I've shared with my members at the Buddhist Church of Florin. But for me, it rings really true. And so this is a poem that I've kept. And this poem is called An Ocean of Grief. And this is by Ferna Larry Mills. So this poem goes, I cautiously watch the water as it moves along the shore, creeping closer to the sand around my feet. Beyond the crashing waves, where the water is deepest green, the ocean mirrors the depths of my grief. My grief is like the ocean, sorrow coming in like waves, sometimes gentle like a ripple on the sea. Other times it just engulfs me with crushing waves of sadness and undertows of despair pull me down. Some days I wade in and out, splashing memories with my feet, recalling days of sunshine on my face. Stepping through the foaming edges, never venturing out so far that larger waves can threaten their embrace. Then, when I least expected, this freak of nature soaks me in reality so painful that I fall. The sorrow and the anger that I fought with day to day surge through me in a tidal free for all. One day, when I'm much stronger and my grief is not so new, I'll swim just like I used to before. I'll take pleasure in the memories and tread water in those places we can't share together anymore. So I think that this poem really does describe this depth of grief that we can experience and how it has this very lasting impression on a bereaved individual. And as this poem illustrates, the waves of grief that I mentioned too, they can be gentle, but they can also have a very overwhelming force. There is caution that's taken when dealing with grief, especially when it kind of knocks us off our feet. And as mentioned by Dr. Tanaka, our suffering has a very transformative nature, as I mentioned, and it allows us to welcome joy, moments of joy in our life and appreciation. And I think that this is true with grief as well, as the poem stated. One day when I'm much stronger and my grief is not so new, I'll swim just like I used to before. I'll take pleasure in the memories and tread water in those places that we can't share together anymore. So although we can't visit those same places that we did with our loved ones who have passed away, the memories of them are still with us, and we can still take pleasure in those memories and have a fond and deep appreciation for the time that we were able to spend with our loved ones and friends as well. So again, I think this very transformative nature of suffering really allows us to have a deep appreciation and even maybe empathy and compassion for others who have suffered from grief as well. So I hope that this story, my personal sharing about my oceanic adventures that weren't so pleasant, but also even Dr. Tanaka's parable, and also this poem kind of really summarizes this beautiful basic tenet about Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, right? It's about living a life of deep, deep gratitude despite all of the suffering that we experience in our lifetimes as human beings. And so hopefully with all of these different things that you too can have a deep sense of gratitude, even when you are experiencing the most suffering in your lives as well, regardless if it's grief or being overwhelmed or some other type of loss. But I hope that these particular stories kind of tie all of those things in together. So to conclude my message, will you please join me in Gasho? How joyous I am, my heart and mind being rooted in the Buddha ground of the universal vow, and my thoughts and feelings flowing within the inconceivable Dharma ocean. Namo Amida-butsu. Namo Amida-butsu. Namo Amida-butsu. Namo Amida-butsu. Namo Amida-butsu. Okay, so we'll go ahead and conclude with our announcements. So I apologize if you already heard these before, just for any of our newcomers to this particular service. First, I wanted to just wish again those individuals a very happy birthday. Elise Fuji, George Fuji, Chloe Martin, Linda Liang, Kathy Fujimori, Denise Levitt, Mike Shibata, Derek Uemura, and Brian Yanokita. And happy birthday to all of those other friends who might be celebrating your birthday this month as well. In regards to announcements, please pass this along to maybe any of your friends or family members who would like to have their infant or young children, older children too, to participate in the Hatsumairi, which is technically the first Dharma service for an infant, and that will be on May 16th. But in March, we do have a Dharma School Teachers meeting on the 14th. We have a BWA meeting following this meeting. 3/21, we have our spring Ohigan with Reverend Etsuko Mikame from the San Jose Betsuin. And keep saving your box tops. And also, Sangha Club is continuing to accept your recyclables, and those can be dropped off at the carport. And thank you for all of you who are continuing to send in or make your donations online. We truly appreciate your support, and you could always donate your osaisen in that way as well. Any other announcements from anybody else? I don't know if I missed. And then also, if you do have children or grandchildren who want to participate in the scholarship program, the information is in the chat as well. And also my thank you Darlene and Charlie and Tad Shibata for your assistance with today's service. Any other announcements that I might have missed? No? Okay. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. It's good to see your faces, or at least your names. And thank you for staying for the Shotsuki Memorial Service. And hopefully we'll see you again next week. And until then, take good care. Thanks, everybody.